Hi everyone, my name is Saad here at Compt, and this presentation is for people. I'll explain a little bit later exactly what that means, but we'll be talking about how to help create the ideal perks program in a matter of minutes. So what exactly does that mean? Put another way, I'm going to go over how to go from a complicated, unpopular, time-consuming, and expensive perks program to a simple but world-class one in just minutes using lifestyle spending accounts or 100% personalized perks. A mouthful, I know, but it will all make sense shortly, I promise. Just so you know I'm not making this stuff up, I'll show you a quick case study. This is Webflow, a San Francisco-based web development company that makes it easy for companies to build amazing websites. Before they started working with us, they were already growing quickly, but were having some challenges. They were concerned about effectively supporting their growing remote employee base, catering to everyone's needs in the company regardless of life stage and location. And Heather and her team really wanted to do something new and innovative to address all of that. Lastly, there was some concern around administrative burden. We helped Heather and her team build out the ideal program for Webflow. They could have a stipend specifically for remote employees and other stipends as well, like one specifically focused on health and wellness. Within 2 months, they had a 76% participation rate overall. It takes around 30 minutes per month to manage everything from the stipends to the rosters to payroll. And now they're even able to easily include an anniversary stipend. Here's what Heather, Webflow's VP of People, had to say. Compt lets us say yes to the varied requests we get for perks by putting the choice in the individual team member's court. So here's a quick peek into some of the results the Webflow team saw. Before they decided that Compt was the right tool for them, all they had was a wellness benefit for a specific local gym, and that was just in the Bay Area. But their team is 70% remote, so you can imagine how employees felt about that and what the utilization was like. For the health and wellness stipend alone, this is the diversity of offerings the Webflow team was able to support on the right without any vendor relationships whatsoever. 36 different types of perks, 95 different vendors, and 22 different gyms. Huge difference for the team. When we reconnected with Heather, she mentioned how could she or any other HR professional ever create a perks program as diverse, personalized, and meaningful as this, doing it the old way. So who is this presentation for? I mentioned people earlier. So this presentation is focused specifically on those folks. Maybe you're the first HR person or even the founder at a growing tech company, and you realize that your company needs to be doing more to show appreciation for your employees, to recognize them, to support them, and generally make sure they're living fulfilling lives. But you just don't have the time or budget to put a robust program together. There are so many great perks out there. How are you supposed to pick just one? Even if you have the budget to select a few perks, how are you supposed to decide between the importance of supporting families or mental health or continuous learning? How can you ensure that there is something that supports every member of your team? Maybe you've tried or experienced individual vendors or maybe a discount marketplace at other companies, and you're considering going that route again, but you know the chances of success are minimal and you're not going to get the results you want in terms of participation and utilization. You're worried that your team isn't as engaged as it could be, that your team may feel the execs don't really care about them and their overall well-being, and you don't know what's the best way to change that without causing an administrative nightmare for yourself. You know this is important. Other companies with a lot more resources can just throw bags of money at the problem, and you're not sure how you can do the same without hurting the longevity of the company. You are stressed. Maybe you have trouble sleeping. You're obsessed. You're reading all the books, but you're struggling to find any new and innovative solutions. Well, I want you to know that we're here to help. Now, here is the core concept. If you can understand this, everything else will make sense. There are lots of solutions out there that promise higher retention. Retention is critical, of course. We all know that higher retention means higher productivity for an organization. But quantifying how one particular tool is going to impact retention is nearly impossible. There's so many factors. Even employee engagement is a tough one to put your finger on. But what about participation in company events, participation in company meetings and surveys? What about participation in company benefits or employee perks? Participation in and utilization of employee perks can be one of the key proxies used for employee engagement. If your employees actually feel that you have their back, not just in their professional lives, but that you are supporting them in a meaningful way in their personal lives as well, you can bet that that will make them happier at work, more excited to come to work, more engaged, more productive even, and create a better chance at retaining them. That may not be news to you, but the truth is that no one has looked at this problem from both sides before. That is, from the perspective of both an employee and the HR manager. Until now, we are the only ones focused on solving this particular problem. We can do that for companies of all sizes, but typically, the more employees you have, the more profound the impact. Now, before I go on, I figured it would be worthwhile for me to share a little background on myself and the team here. Yes, that's me and my cat Juno in the picture on the left. I grew up and went to school here in the Boston area, undergrad at Tufts University, and did my MBA at Boston University. I've been in tech startups for about 10 years now and joined the Compt team in February 2019 because I believe in our mission of creating an environment of balance and belonging so that each and every one of us can live our best lives. Compt was founded by Amy, our CEO, and Sarah, our VP of Marketing. It's worth noting that Amy was a CFO for 18 years at various companies. All the problems Compt solves for are problems that she faced firsthand. Different employees wanting different things, supporting remote employees, easy scalability, tax compliance, etc. She tried to find a solution that would allow her to give more personalized and meaningful perks to employees. She searched for years. Eventually, she decided it was best to just build it, and that's how Compt came to be. We've had conversations with so many people leaders, so many human resources folks, so many insurance brokers, HR consultants, etc., that we've honed in on a few steps to help everyone in the space be successful. So a few things to keep in mind and some advice if you're in the space and you care about people. So I'm going to go through 4 key strategies to get the most out of your perks program. So the first piece is to consider intentionality. Ask yourself the questions. Why do you have perks? Why do you offer certain perks? How do they tie into your goals, your values as an organization, your mission? Some companies talk about taking care of the whole self or the whole life. One company I recently spoke with actually is developing an entire benefits program built around the concept of the whole you. They actually call it their whole you initiative. Perks are very much a generational thing. Millennials love them. Generation Z folks need them. In fact, according to Glassdoor, 4 in 5 employees prefer benefits or perks over pay raise. I should say they prefer good benefits and great perks over a pay raise. So if you have perks but aren't seeing great adoption, it's not that perks are a waste of your time. It's just that mechanism that you're using may be wrong, or something needs to be tweaked to optimize how, when, or why employees are using them. The nice to haves are just not enough anymore. The important stuff, especially when tied to your company culture, is much more powerful. So be intentional about what you're offering and why. You'll see more engagement and general excitement around your program as a result. So I've gotten some questions around intentionality before, so I'm going to cover a few of those here. First, how do you know you're being intentional? You know you're being intentional if you can say to yourself, yeah, we're doing a good job of reinforcing our culture, our values, and our goals within our perks program. Second, is it okay to have some of the fun or fluffy stuff? Of course it is. In fact, it's encouraged. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the fluffy stuff, and you definitely need the fun stuff so you can encourage healthy and balanced living, but it's important to be intentional about the program as a whole, how it's built, how inclusive it is, etc. Don't just bring on a perk because a few employees are asking for it. Be intentional about where it fits in. Will it cost me more to be intentional? It doesn't have to. It depends on how you plan on doing it. You could work with individual vendors for certain things which would likely be more costly, but on the other hand, you could set up a stipend model which would likely be much more cost effective. What impact does intentionality when it comes to your perks program have on employees and the company itself? Your employees will constantly be reminded about what you as an organization value, and that you care about your employees in more meaningful ways than a weekly happy hour. They will feel that psychological connection between their employer and the stuff that is meaningful in their lives. It's powerful for an employee to feel that his or her employer is supporting them in their child care or elder care needs, or in donating to a charity that they like to support, or that they're getting help with student loans. This naturally leads to greater engagement, greater loyalty, higher retention, and ultimately to heightened productivity. Second, by second I mean the second point to bring up here is put the flexibility in their hands. Is it fair for you and I to be tasked with figuring out what's best for employees? Every individual obviously knows what their preferences are, what their family situation is, what their health situation requires, etc. Make it easier on yourself and a much better experience for the employee by ridding yourself of the task of picking and choosing individual perks. It's not only unnecessary to do it that way, it actually may be hurting your team, which again is just unfair to you and the entire team as a whole. Amy, our CEO, got asked questions all the time about getting this benefit and that benefit when she was a CFO and had the HR team reporting to her. She and I worked at a company together a few years ago where some people wanted seltzer water, other people wanted coffee, others tea. They ended up getting all of it, but how much of that upfront cost went to waste? A lot. A couple of people asked for a meditation room when the new space was built. How much was that room actually used? Not enough is the answer. The key is that they know that you, the employer, are supporting them in a meaningful way. That's what develops that psychological connection for that employee that says, hey, my company really cares that I have daycare bills, or that I need to take care of my parents, or that I love to travel, or that I care about such and such a charity, or that my physical or mental health is a big focus for me. So a few questions on the personalization side that are worth kind of bringing up here. Number one, what if employees want lots of different things? That seems like a lot to manage. So we get that question a lot. They will definitely want lots of different things, and that's kind of the point. The point is that you won't have to manage a single thing because you'll be able to let the employees decide. Another question, I don't have perks yet. How much time would it take to manage this myself? For some companies, depending on the robustness of their program, it can take a few hours a week. Some companies have a full-time person dedicated to managing individual perk vendors, their contracts, employee questions, concerns, complaints, etc. If you use the right tool, however, it could take you a fraction of the time. Another question, isn't it a lot of work for employees to pick vendors? So employees have those questions, concerns, and complaints because they want to be able to pick how to best take advantage of perks themselves. A lot of the perks we're talking about today are things they're already spending on or will do so in the future. Student loan repayment, charities, family, travel, etc. It's not a lot of work for employees at all if executed properly, and far less work for you. Another question, what options are out there that even make this possible? So personalization is hard. If you truly want to allow for 100% personalization while getting the benefits for the company itself and reducing your own administrative burden, there is really only one way, perk stipends, or as we like to call them, lifestyle spending accounts. Will allowing for 100% personalization be more costly for me? Now, it really depends on how you do it. If you're front-loading the money on debit cards or giving stipends and paychecks without regard to what it's spent on, it probably is going to be more costly. Not to mention, you won't know any utilization or engagement metrics, which can be costly in an indirect way. If you set things up, however, where you pay only for what's used, you'll likely save money. Also, it's worth keeping in mind the other benefits like higher utilization, higher engagement, higher productivity in exchange for giving a few extra bucks per month in the form of perk stipends. Probably worth it if you do it that way. The third point to bring up is the fact that the move to remote work and dispersed teams has exploded as companies look for untapped talent in this labor shortage. Given that fact, there's a key question to consider. Are remote employees feeling that they are supported? Now, not every company has remote employees, of course, but if you do, or if you're thinking about going remote, you likely already know that managing and supporting them is not easy at all. Yes, working remotely is a benefit in and of itself, but some folks have no choice due to location, family situations, or something else. Never assume. Just remember that they are part of the team too and need to be treated as such. They aren't able to communicate with other team members as easily, and they aren't able to take advantage of any in-office perks. If they feel isolated or neglected in any way, it will impact their work and their excitement for the company. No matter how you slice it, that's never a good thing. Make sure they know that you are thinking about them and that they are an important part of the team. Webflow has a remote employee stipend specifically for those folks. No, you don't have to set it up that way, but this goes back to point number one, being intentional. So a few questions that get asked about remote employees. Remote employees already get a great perk in that they can work from home, don't they? So I just covered this, but sure, but more and more employees are remote because companies are needing to look to these untapped labor pools as they try to find skilled labor. What's more is that everyone's circumstances are different. It's unfair to assume that it's a perk for everyone. For some folks, they may have to do it out of necessity, whether due to location or family circumstances or something else. The point is, though, that if they don't feel included, they'll eventually become disengaged. If they're disengaged, their productivity will definitely suffer. Another question, if I give stipends, should I give remote employees the same amount as those that are in offices? So that's up to you, but the focus should be on being equitable, or as equitable as you can. Some companies give more of a stipend to remote employees because they don't get access to everything at the home office. Some give the same amount and others give less. Every company is different. I don't have remote employees yet. Why should I care? So remote employees, to be clear, are just one group to consider. What about folks in satellite offices? What about new moms and dads? What about those with elderly parents who need additional care, or those that love to travel, or those that are on the road often for work, or even those that have a specific health condition that could benefit from a little extra support? Everyone's needs are different. These are all different groups. Remote folks are just one of those groups. And don't forget, remote employees are on the rise, so ignoring them is probably doing yourselves a disservice. The last point to bring up, and certainly not least, don't forget about Uncle Sam. I can't tell you how much this is overlooked because companies initially think, oh, this is something we're paying for, we'll write it off as a business expense. It's not that simple. Most perks or lifestyle benefits are taxable, meaning they need to be treated like normal compensation and taxed appropriately on the employee side. If you don't and you're audited, this can be a big problem. So word to the wise, avoid that, manage everything properly, protect your company, and make sure your finance and accounting teams don't lose their minds. A few questions on the tax front. Are there any perks that are considered non-taxable? Definitely. The three major categories there are continuous learning, cell phone, and commuter benefits. All those categories are non-taxable perks according to the IRS. What are examples of perks that would be considered taxable then? The simple answer is basically everything else. Family benefits such as babysitting or elder care, health and wellness benefits like gym memberships, yoga lessons, new sneakers, mental health services, that's all taxable. Travel, student loan repayment, these are all taxable benefits. Is it possible to make everything non-taxable to the employee? You certainly can, but it's important to know that taxes need to be paid from somewhere. So if the employee doesn't pay them, they must be paid by the employer. So doing a quick check here, and just to recap, in order to attract the best talent, keep them engaged, and therefore retain, there are 4 key things you need to consider. The first piece, be intentional around your perks program. Build something that makes sense for the company, its vision, its mission, the goals, and the culture. Number 2, don't pick for your employees. Let them pick the vendors. All you need to do is pick the categories or the type of perks, basically create stipends. It makes it easy for you, and it's much more personalized for them. The third piece, pay particular attention to your remote employees if you have them. This group of employees is growing super fast. More and more people are asking about it. There are pros and cons, but these folks can easily be overlooked. And word to the wise, don't do that. They're a key part of your team and your culture. Make them feel that way. The last piece is taxes. Perks are considered personal compensation. Make sure you consider that in your decision making and how you account for perks for all your employees. Most perks are taxable, so this isn't something you can really get around. Goal here in a nutshell is building the perfect perks program that makes sense for the company, for you as the HR manager, and for every single employee. That way you can drive utilization, you can drive engagement with the company as a whole, its values, its mission, etc., and ultimately build that psychological connection and drive productivity for the entire organization. Doing that for one employee or a few employees is fine. But if you can do that for 80, 90, or 100% of your workforce, that's massive and hugely impactful to the organization. If you do these things, you're positioning yourself, your employees, and your organization as a whole for success. So you have 2 options here. You can do this, and by this I mean managing perks. You can do it the old, hard, and messy way of developing a perks program, which means you're using things like vendor marketplaces, discount marketplaces, maybe selecting individual vendors, or even a debit card strategy. There are major challenges to all of these strategies. You as the people leader, you have to do all the work. It's painful to both administer and also to manage. It's not personalized at all. So with 5 generations at work at most companies, it's impossible to personalize for everyone. So it ends up being a one-size-fits-all approach that just doesn't work nowadays. Front loading is required with debit cards, so this can be very expensive, especially if you're getting low participation and utilization rates, and also you oftentimes have to pay up front for individual vendors that you might be working with. It's hard to scale up or down with lots of these strategies, so scalability can certainly be an issue. Remote employees will not be easily supported here, and satellite offices may be getting the short end of the stick as well. Certainly another consideration, as I talked about in one of the 4 key strategies to keep in mind. No tax compliance whatsoever with any of these other strategies, and you don't get to build a program that makes sense for your culture, your goals, and your values as an organization either. The other way is the Compt way. So number 1, you get 100% personalized perks. Employees get to decide, and what's more, you don't have to. So you get time back in your day to focus on other things. You can customize a program that makes sense for your team and your culture, so 100% customizable. You can offer meaningful perks, including the fluffy stuff. If you want to include massages and dinners, go for it. But you can also cover things like mental health, child care, elder care benefits, charitable giving, travel, student loan repayment, in addition to several other things. No need to front load, and you can offer more with less. So protecting your company's dollars and also being able to have the dollars you are putting towards the program just go further. Scaling becomes super simple, whether it's up or down. Easily support remote teams, satellite offices, part-time workers even. It's 100% tax compliant in the US. I mentioned this earlier, but you'll have a ton of intentionality behind your program this way when you can craft a program that makes sense for your company. Participation and utilization rates will go through the roof. Oftentimes we're seeing 7x lift. in the level of participation and utilization. This is a proxy for engagement, which, as I mentioned earlier, means higher retention and therefore much higher productivity. Just a reminder as far as who this presentation is for. Again, people, those folks that care about employee engagement, experience, and morale, culture, and what it means to be a part of your company. On that note, these folks care about inclusiveness and people feeling that they are a part of the team, the family, and a part of something bigger. They care about team members experiencing both personal and professional growth, because they know that if people are happy at home, that it helps their growth at work and it helps the company as a whole. These people realize that everyone has a life outside of work, and that shouldn't be ignored. It should be respected, it should be supported, it should be encouraged. They also care about the concept of a whole life or a whole self, because everything is intertwined: personal life, professional life, etc. So just a few quick quotes from some clients of ours or folks at clients of ours. First, Jared from Medaxo, he's an employee there. He's not on the HR team. He submitted a quote: "This perk has allowed me to spend time with the people I care about. Because of this perk, I was able to expense a flight home to surprise my mom for her birthday. That's priceless." Also, Jameson, he's the CEO at Fritz.ai. He said, "There isn't a single perk that's perfect for all of my team members, but they each know what's best for them. Compt lets them get what they need." Again, this kind of goes to the point around personalization, customization, getting the most meaningfulness out of perks. That's the perks that are offered as possible. And revisiting Webflow here, again, they struggled with supporting their remote teams, broadening their base of benefits effectively and efficiently. They had concerns around administrative burden. Via Compt, they were able to address all of that, build a stipend for remote employees. They broadened the benefits so much that they saw a huge lift in participation. You see 98% of folks activated their accounts in the first month, 76% participation within a couple of months. And they were also able to manage all of this, whether it's the health and wellness stipend and others, in just 30 minutes a month. So very low touch on the administrative side. So Sarah, our VP of marketing, actually had a call with Heather from Webflow not long ago, and Heather had this amazing tidbit to say about Compt. The neat thing about Compt, as a small team, as a lean team, it helps us be really agile, and also our team's needs are always evolving. A person who is really into a gym stipend one month might become a parent a few months later, and then suddenly realize they need to do a home workout. And now they can have both. So again, the flexibility and customization and personalization has a huge value for folks. So just some quick facts about lifestyle spending accounts and 100% personalized perks here. First, you'll be able to create a super personalized world-class perks program that makes sense for your company, but it's super easy to use for everyone. By everyone, I mean you as the HR manager, your finance team, and employees, of course, as well. Second, you as a HR manager will love it, and your employees will love you for it. They'll love you because these perks will finally be meaningful to each person. Third, you will be able to focus on other important tasks. You have so much on your plate already. This strategy will allow you to focus your attention on other important items. Next, you'll be able to have an impact on the bottom line and really make a noticeable difference. That's really, really important, and you'll be praised for that. Next, you'll be less stressed. You'll get less requests for changes, less complaints about what's currently offered. You'll have an impact on people's lives and allow your company to take part. This really builds that psychological connection I mentioned earlier between employees and the fact that you and your organization are supporting them in meaningful, important, and impactful ways. Lastly, you will get rid of expensive, time-consuming, ineffective, complicated, and impersonal benefits that most of your employees don't really care that much about anyway. So you'll get rid of the inefficiencies, save the company money, save yourself time, reduce confusion, and generally just make everyone happy. On that note, to provide a quick comparison of Compt versus other perks management strategies, here you can see the holes that come with traditional strategies. The vendor marketplaces, individual vendors, discount platforms, and even the debit card strategy. I mentioned earlier that there's never been a solution that effectively tackles the perks management problem from both sides. This shows what I mean. You may be able to get one or two of these benefits here, depending on the strategy you may be using today, but Compt solves all 8 of these problems effectively, and there isn't another solution like that in the world. Whether you're talking about personalization for employees, customization ability for HR managers, inclusiveness regardless of life stage or remote employees or what have you, easily scalable, the lack of need for front loading, tax compliance, the list goes on and on. But happy to share this with you folks if you reach out to me directly. So I mean, you might be asking yourself to this point, right? Like I've gone through a lot. Like, okay, Saad, like how this sounds all well and great, but how do I do that? How is this even possible? Let me explain a few of the key things to you that keep that kind of make Compt what it is today. Couple of things. First and foremost, a broad and comprehensive list of categories to pick from. I mentioned a bunch of them earlier, but we have 13 different categories to pick from. There's something for everyone in there. It's a pretty comprehensive list listed on the right here. But what's more is that we manage the tax compliance piece for you. So no need to worry about the reporting on it or having to adjust things after the fact, all taken care of via Compt's interface. Next, employees will know exactly what everything can be used for, what the categories mean, how much they have left, how much they've spent, how long they have before the stipend expires, and they can even see what has or hasn't been approved, so they don't have to constantly ask. The next piece is spot bonuses. We launched this feature, just in the summer of 2019 here. Holidays, referral bonuses, job well done bonuses, birthdays, anniversaries, whatever else. In fact, recently I had somebody tell me that they'd like to use it to just send somebody a get well soon gift, right? So you can manage all of that through the Compt interface. No more gift cards, no more emails or sending individual gifts and getting addresses and people being maybe unhappy with what they get. Now you can give an amount that you feel makes sense for whatever reason, and the employee can decide how they want to use that money. Other parts of the puzzle here, so segmented perks is an important one. You can split stipends out by teams or by location or even remote versus headquarters. You have the ability to have international support. So to take per division perks or segmented perks a step further, you have time zone and currency support now part of the tool, so team members anywhere can get what they want and need easily and know exactly how much they have to spend in their local currency and when the stipends reset as well. Single sign-on capabilities available. You can customize everything from budgets to cycles to categories to how employees are split out within the platform, who has access to what. It's up to the people team and you as the HR team to really figure that out. Mobile friendly, employees can easily use their mobile devices to check their stipends, submit receipts, etc. There's also a very easy payroll process. Our process is compatible with all payroll providers that accept CSV uploads, and we're working on API integrations right now as well. They're in the works with companies like ADP, Gusto, Workday, etc. So here's the scoop. Join us, and we can help you. Help you and your company build a simple, world-class, 100% personalized perks program in just minutes. Your employees will love it, and so will you. Just click the link below or email me directly to chat with me about your company's situation, go through the tool in detail, and we can figure out exactly how Compt can help you build the perfect program for your company. Every company is different. So just like one size doesn't fit all for employees, the same applies to perks programs as well. We have limited implementation slots each month, so definitely don't wait to at least have that initial call to see if there's a fit, see what we can do for you, and implement before the 15th to launch for that month. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till the 1st of the following month. The only reason we do that is because, if employees only have half the month, there can be some disadvantages both to the employer and to the employee to have it set up that way. So typically the first half of the month is when we launch new programs. Just a heads up, so a couple of things to keep in mind. We have monthly pricing and we have annual pricing. Annual pricing is lower in terms of monthly cost and locks you into that rate for a full 12 months with no changes, even if your headcount doubles or triples. So if you're a fast growing company, again, don't wait and take advantage of that. You can have a much lower, you can basically get a great deal for the next 12 months the sooner you reach out to us. If you wait also, you may miss out on whatever promotions we may have going on right now. So reach out and find out what we might have for you today. Lastly, and certainly not least, don't delay the delight you'll be sending your employees' way via 100% personalized and meaningful perks. That truly is priceless. And guess what? If I haven't convinced you enough yet that the Compt way is the way to go to offer 100% personalized perks to your employees, make life for you so easy, it's silly, save money, and overall just make everyone in your company happy, I'm going to add the fact that if Compt ends up not working for your team after 90 days for whatever reason, and you follow the best practices around payroll processing, sharing the one-pager that we put together for you with all your employees in a timely manner, inviting employees soon after implementation, etc., then we will give you 100% of your money back. That's how confident we are. Bottom line is, this works. So, to just summing it all up, working with us, you'll get access to all the categories, spot bonuses, which can be used for a myriad of purposes, segmented perks, where you can have different stipends for different groups, support your international team if you have one, and the list goes on and on. We're adding new features and functionality every quarter, so stay up to date on that. You'll be able to easily build a simple, world-class, and a 100% personalized perks program in a matter of minutes. Get started sooner rather than later, lock in a lower rate, make your employees happier sooner, make your life easier sooner. Take advantage of any promotions we might have going on right now, especially since it's the end of the year. Definitely some things that you can take advantage of, and reserve your spot for whenever you feel your team may be ready to launch. And again, no risk to you. Try us out for 90 days, and if you don't absolutely love Compt and what it's doing for your team, you get your money back in full. Simple as that. Just click the link below to set some time up with me. Let's see if there's a fit together, and if so, let's start building your ideal perks program in just minutes. So before I go into the FAQ section, I just wanted to say that the system today, quite frankly, is broken. The perks management system. The tools that exist today are so one-sided, again meaning HR manager or employee, that the other side really gets caught holding the short end of the stick and has to give something up in order for the other to be appeased. Even then, it's an imperfect solution for the side that's supposed to benefit to begin with. For HR and people leaders specifically, they've only had access to old tools to manage a new, evolving, and growing workforce. There's never been a tool that benefits everyone, that is easy for everyone, that allows for so much personalization, that is so flexible for HR managers, that is highly utilized, and ultimately that makes everyone on both sides happy. And we're super proud, I should say, to finally change that. Jumping into the frequently asked questions, so this is basically a list of questions you may be wondering and that we get asked about a lot. First, how are employees' Compt accounts funded? It's not by front loading. You pay your employees via payroll as they submit proof of payment. If they don't submit that proof, you don't pay, which means we never touch your cash. What happens if an employee doesn't use some of their stipend? Bottom line, they lose whatever is left and it resets to whatever that amount should be at the beginning of the next cycle. What is the average stipend per employee? So that ranges quite a bit, but the average is $100 to $125 a month per employee. How much time on average are employees spending within Compt? 2 to 5 minutes per month, so it's pretty low touch on the employee side. It's as simple as basically logging in, clicking a category, uploading a receipt, clicking submit, and some employees might do that, a few times a month. Why not give cash to everyone rather than build out a stipend program? Because they're now digital today, people literally don't even see their pay stubs, and what is out of sight is out of mind. So extra cash doesn't get noticed or appreciated by employees nearly as much as an intentional perk, gift, or reward. Employees make that psychological connection between the perks program that their company is offering and the things that are meaningful in their lives. That, by and large, is more impactful towards the morale of the employee and for the company as well, as opposed to giving out straight cash. What makes Compt different from an expensing software like Expensify or Concur? So Compt does operate on a reimbursement model, but that's the only similarity between Compt and expensing solutions. Compt is meant for personal expenses, and Expensify and Concur are meant for business expenses. Compt allows you to create stipends. Expensing solutions do not. Compt accounts for the taxability of different categories. These other solutions do not. Uploading receipts and approving expenses on Compt is free. Business expense software comes with a charge per expense report. So there are some, although we do not consider Expensify or Concur competitors, there are some huge differences between what those platforms should be used for versus what Compt should be used for. Can we add new categories? Absolutely. It's easy for us to create a customized stipend or a customized category if needed. How many stipends are allowed? We recommend 2. We allow 3 at the most at this point, just to allow for maximum flexibility for your team members and your employees. So how do employees know what is allowed within each category? So we customize a one-pager for you to share with your team post-implementation, and you can also include some text beneath the category names to provide some guidance. Generally though, most of the categories are meant to be broad so your employees can decide what each category means for them. Of course, categories like student loan repayment, pets, and charitable giving are pretty straightforward though. How do employees get the money? So they get paid directly from your payroll system. There's no stipend dollars that are housed within Compt. How does pricing for the tool work? So we use a tiered-based pricing model based on the number of employees in your organization. Because we don't use a standard per employee per month model, you always know your bill and never have to worry about auditing it. It also means that with an annual contract, no matter how many employees you hire, your price will not go up during the term of that contract. Is there a minimum number of employees required? No minimum, but we do tend to see higher engagement levels in employees when companies have over 50 employees. But again, we talk to anybody and everybody. Will this work for my company? If you're a people-first organization, absolutely. Most of you probably already have some perks in place. It's just a matter of reorganizing, broadening, and simplifying. Can I take some of the existing perks at my company and transfer them over? Absolutely. Many of the companies we work with do exactly that. They take what they already have and transfer that over and then make some tweaks like adding more categories or increasing the actual stipend amount, or in many cases, they do both. How can you guarantee you will get me to my goal? So if you believe in investing in your people, thanking them for their work and making sure they know that they're valued and that they're important, we will make sure you have the perfect program and help you in communicating all the necessary details to your employees. We'll even send them occasional notifications to remind them about how much of their stipend they have left and how much time they have to spend it before it resets. We'll set you up for success. And if we're not able to see results in 3 months, despite all of that, we'll give you all of your money back. How often are you adding new features and functionality? So new features, functionality, and improvements both on the employee side and admin side are being rolled out every month, sometimes even more often than that. How much work is this to get started? We provide an onboarding doc for you when you're ready to begin. It might take you 15 minutes to get an idea of how you want to structure your stipends and get your roster info ready. The implementation call, during which we walk you through the setup, takes no more than 45 minutes. Usually it takes less than that. 30 minutes is the average. At that point, you'll be ready to invite your employees to use Compt. What do I need to get started? So the first thing is budget for your stipends. Again, most of you will already have that. A lot of the folks we talk to already have perks in place. An idea of how, so the second thing is an idea of how you want to structure the stipends and what categories you want to include. The third is a roster of your employees. The fourth is a payroll provider that accepts CSV uploads, which again, most do. It's very rare that that's not the case. The last thing is the will to make your perks program top notch and delight your employees like you never thought was possible. So I want to first of all thank you all for listening. Feel free to email me with any and all questions. I'm sure there are some questions that I left out of the FAQ section, so feel free to reach out to me directly if you have those. I can be reached at Saad, that's SAAD, at compt.io. It's right on the screen here. Always here as a resource, and definitely book some time to chat if you're a people person at a people first organization. We'd love to help. We love to get feedback, and of course we love to make a difference for everyone at your organization. Thanks again, and really looking forward to talking to you soon.